Welcome to the Advance Your Art podcast, where we talk about the journey from artist to entrepreneur and everything in between. You've worked hard to hone your craft. Now take it to the next level with tips, techniques, strategies, and routines used by successful artists to grow their businesses and careers. Now, let's get started and have some fun with your host, Yuri Cataldo.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hello, I am doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me. So I'd like to first start off by letting the audience know a little more about you. So how do you describe yourself and what you do these days?
What a deep question. I went in for the kill right now. How do I describe myself? I would say that my 2018 definition of who I am and what I do is I'm an actress and a storyteller. It sounds super cliche, but I've really loving the word storyteller this year because I'm a film producer in the sense that I help people tell their stories through film, either through the production aspect or I help get their amplify the voice of their stories through distribution and marketing. So I'm an advocate for storytelling and I'm an actress, so why not?
That's amazing. So you said 2018. In general, does your definition of what you do change year by year?
I think that every year you have to gauge where you're at because life continues to evolve, and then sometimes you can get very stagnant putting yourself in one box. So I think it molds and moves. Like last year I would have just said I'm an actress and a film producer, or I'm an actress and I own a marketing and production company. It's just I think that I got really super focused on the why concept and why I do what I do and what I'm drawn to. And yeah, this year I was very much I think this is what I'm going with. So I think it just evolves year to year.
Okay, sure. So I'd like to then backtrack a little bit and
let's do it.
So you originally went to school for communication arts and graphic arts. Why did you choose to study those?
So I think not to be a little girl about it, but I've always known that I wanted to be an actress, and I went to performing arts high school. I went half day to performing arts high school, half day to a regular high school.
Okay.
And I wanted to go to school for acting, but I didn't really have the grades, unfortunately, at the time to get into NYU or Fordham, and I thought that those were the only two acting colleges in New York, but I always knew I wanted to be in New York. And when I got into Marymount, which I just stumbled into. This is before Marymount became Marymount Manhattan College became a really big performing arts college. I got to go there. It's a liberal arts school, and I decided if I'm going to act, I'm going to go do it because I'd already been really honing my craft in for 4 years. And if I wanted to do something else, I should study something else to help me or, to help elevate my education. And I was drawn to communication arts because my backup plan, if I wasn't going to become a world famous actress, was to be an advertising executive. And that's why I was drawn to communication arts.
Sure.
And communication arts also has filmmaking and broadcast journalism. And because of advertising is how I got into graphic design. So I was a double major, double minor in college because masochism sounded like a lot of fun.
Definitely. You're not alone on that one. That was, for some reason, also when I went to school. I have a bunch of different minors and some random majors, too. So that's great. So you graduated. What did you do? I see that you also then went and studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. So what did you do in between graduating from Marymount until you went into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts?
So it's always interesting when people say, what did you do when you graduated college, especially with the temperament of, the job world, the last 10 years. I graduated in 2010, and I always knew that I was going to be some sort of entrepreneur. I even, discussed it my senior year in college. So I've been freelancing since I graduated college. So right out of college, I started freelancing as a graphic designer. I did, one internship once for a month, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to work for someone for free for 4 months. Especially I felt that the place that I was at, I could tell that they liked that I was really good at giving them free work, and they wouldn't, anytime there was an opportunity to like educate me in like web design, I can't code for my life. So, anytime there was a way to like educate me, I saw that they gave it to the girl that wasn't as good as a graphic designer. So they could just like teach her something and still like get free work. And I really didn't like the process at the time. So I just started freelancing on my own. I had like my portfolio. I got honors in college. So I really had a really great kind of little golden star nest egg to kind of share to become a freelancer. So, that's what I did right out of college. I just started working with like real estate agents because they need marketing materials. I was really big into music merchandising because it merged the creative and, the business world. And so I started just creating like designing packages and brand imagery and stuff like that. And what I wanted to do is one of the biggest regrets I'll ever have is I didn't go to school for acting. And I think it's because I wasn't properly educated, during high school. And I think the fact that like you can have a career in this, because I think there's still so much unknown about it. And, so I went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I just went for their summer intensive. It was a lot of fun. In hindsight, I wish I could have done the full 2 years that they have for their like conservatory program, but it was a wonderful experience to just be back in a class like energy that I didn't have on the performing end during my time in college.
Yeah. So for their summer program, so I guess first off, why did you choose to study at American Academy of Dramatic Arts? And then in their summer program, what types of things that they cover?
So the reason I chose American Academy of Dramatic Arts, I think I tend to really focus on patterns with things, and like I was a math minor in college because I'm weird and like I love patterns and numbers and things, and I know I kept getting during a period of time when I graduated college, I kept getting like all the postcards and stuff for American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I was like, oh, I'll never get to go there, and blah, blah, blah. And then I saw they had a summer program, and I was like, you know what, I can do this, and I was like, you know what, for the hell of it, I'm going to audition, and I did, and I got in. It was very concentrated, so the classes that we covered was like basic acting 101, which is always a good, like, kind of training wheels course, and movement, which I really loved. Diction and voice, which was excellent. They had a really wonderful teacher, and a little bit of scene study is what we covered during the course of like that period of time.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to school for that over the summertime, and then what did you do after that? So did you get into acting and start going off on that way, or did you continue on the marketing side? So
my acting career, my professional acting career, I think is a better way to put it, is I've been acting professionally since 2007, so since I've been in college. I started really jumping into the professional world of acting this summer after my freshman year. Okay. So I did a commercial right off the bat. I was really navigating all the student films. Like, that was a lot of fun. So I was already deep into pursuing life as a professional actor during that period of time. I was just thinking that because of like I was still very green in terms of allowing my instincts to drive me towards the jobs I wanted or navigate the industry on my own. I didn't think that I had the skills per se to really jump into it. And then I realized that it's just about saying yes and like going forward and saying, this is what I want, this is where I want to go, and really just start pursuing it. So I was still marketing this whole time. I think the most influential job that I had, because I also worked in corporate, you know, like you have your moments where I had moments where people want you to take the pragmatic approach, like, well, you know, you graduated college and you need to be able to afford an apartment on your own and you need to be able to do all these things. And like, my parents, of course, didn't understand that, like, you know, people want you to intern for free for 4 months, or they want you to get entry level, but you have to have like 3 years experience to get entry level jobs. It just, because of the fact that like the job world was so sporadic and archaic and also very selfish, is why I started to go into business for myself. Okay. I was still, yeah, obviously I'm very jaded by it. But Being a freelance graphic designer was an amazing experience. It's probably one of the best things I ever did. I love the fact that I can be a graphic designer. It's really changed my life and opened doors for me that I don't think I would have been able to have otherwise. Mm-hmm. And so I was still marketing because people start working with me as a marketing consultant because my background's in communications, and I tend to have I had such a good understanding of the marketing strategies. So I was very heavily into utilizing, visuals to drive your marketing strategy, to drive your brand, to drive your message, to drive like who you are and things like that. So I was able to really gather some great clients. One big thing that I was doing is I was really heavily getting into photo retouching, as one does, especially in New York. There's so many fashion designers mm-hmm. and photographers that like need your help. So I had one photographer that I worked with who led me to a designer that I worked with. I used to make catalogs for fashion designers. And then it also led me to working with this woman who was trying to start a fashion startup. She was coming from the investment banking world, and she wanted to go from corporate to creative. And she was very interested in creating fashion shows for the public. So what I did is, she took a likeness to me, and I worked with her, and it was just me and her literally for like a whole year, 365 days. I worked with her 6 to 7 days a week, 10 to 15-hour days. I produced fashion just for her. Mm-hmm. It was grueling, and she was very vindictive towards the end, unfortunately, but I learned so much. I am so appreciative of the education that I got from that experience. And when I quit on a show that I had worked literally 6 months preparing, mm-hmm. Just myself. And that whole, literally concentrated year, it was like the grad school experience I never got to have. And I quit, and 2.5 weeks later, I decided I could do the same thing. I have fashion show clients. I produced my first fashion show by myself. I raised $10,000 in 2.5 weeks, and I launched my fashion show during Fashion Week in 2013, and that was the launch of my business.
Oh, wow. So when you say that you launched a fashion show, how does that work? Is that because you worked with let's say an established fashion brand or a new brand and then produced their runway show for them? Or when you mean produce or a fashion show, what does that mean?
So producing a fashion show, in my definition, for what I do, mm-hmm. I mean, everyone has their own definition, but what I did was that what I had learned, this woman wanted to basically create fashion shows to the public. So the idea behind it was the fact that, like, if you want to see your favorite band, you can go to a concert. If you want to see your favorite actor, you can see them, in a play, if they're, performing on Broadway or performing in whatever. But if you're really into fashion and you want to see your favorite fashion designers, or you want to see the fashion live on the runway, during Fashion Week, you need to know somebody who knows somebody. It's a very industry-based event. Yeah. Like, even like film festivals, you can buy a ticket to a film festival, but you can't buy a ticket to a fashion show unless it's purposely open to the public. And at the time, the only people really doing high-class, high-end fashion shows was like American Express had like something open to like their gold members to have a public fashion show. And people didn't understand that like fashion shows were only 7 minutes long. Not that I'm like heavily into fashion, but I understood the elements of the fashion show being like the main event, because everyone wanted, especially during Fashion Week, you want to feel like you're a part of it. And New York changes, or it's totally different now, but like New York was was totally changed and overly branded with Fashion Week. You have all the presses coming in. It was a really high energy time during the year, especially during September and the fall, versus February. And so I had a fashion designer that I used to do retouching for and make their catalog, and I already had a bunch of contacts for like businesses that I could connect to with sponsorship, because I'd been doing this for a year. Mm-hmm. And I knew like, what did I need? Like, I needed chairs, I needed a runway, I needed flats in a walkway, I need a location, I need to sell tickets, I knew the ticket places. So pretty much, I had a girl working with me at the time, but I was very much the driving force behind it, and I organized the show. I said, this is what I want. I wanted something unique. I had the only brunch fashion show in New York City, so I wanted to make it, because if you're not a part of the industry, you didn't understand how quick it was. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make a glamorous event that would